Welcome to another episode of Football Tailgaters, where we talk everything about the NFL, including your picks for bets and fantasy football. In today's episode, as usual, I have here with me Yams, the Texan Jets fan, Andy, the unbiased football fan, and me, Aaron, the Cowboys fan. For today's episode, we have two special guests. Our good friends Apes, the Steel Nurse, she's a Steelers fan, and Sergio, casual cowboy. He's only a Cowboy fan when they win. Welcome, guys. So, all right.
Thank you.
Today, we're going to have two questions, and I feel like, even though Yams was saying before we started that it's going to take the longest, I think this question, we're going to start off first. We're going to talk about the Cowboys again. She's going to be happy about that, Yams, right?
No.
We're going to start with Mike McCarthy. Is he going to be in the hot seat this year if they don't make a playoff run? What do you guys think? Yams, you go first.
Yeah, of course he's going to get fired. He's the only one that's holding the Cowboys back. I mean, due to his horrible game time decisions, especially in the San Francisco one where they had 13, 14 seconds to.
Is that his fault though?
Yes, that's his fault. Time management it's his fault.
Okay.
The only coach that really made changes for the team, in my opinion, was Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn was the only one that flipped the defensive side. That's the only big change I saw in the Cowboys. But the rest, they were still doing the same stupid mistakes they were doing. So typical Cowboy moves. I want to leave it like that. I don't want to talk that much about them. I'm just kidding. I'll chime in. I want to hear from the experts.
If you want, Mr. Casual Cowboy fan, you can go ahead.
Well, Mike McCarthy, he's an interesting character. Of course, he was, he had a really good quarterback in Green Bay. And we really don't know how good of a coach he is because that's really been his only big job, right? Being the head coach of the Green Bay Packers. But, now that he's in the Cowboys, I mean, I think, any Cowboys coach is going to be on the hot seat. We haven't won in so long. I think this year, if he doesn't produce, a good winning run and at least, one playoff win, he's definitely going to be out. At least that's my opinion. The thing about why people like Mike McCarthy, I think, because he's a very nice guy. I think he's more of like a player's coach. And with the Cowboys, I don't think it's the right formula. I think they need somebody who's going to come in and be more of an authoritarian. You have so many players there that, being a Cowboy, you're like a superstar. It's your glitz and glamour. You're part of a culture that you're instantly a movie star. Super popular, everybody around Texas. So I think you need somebody who can be more of an authoritarian. And if I had to pick today, I think I would pick Sean Payton to be our next head coach. But we'll see how the season turns out, and hopefully we have the talent enough on the team because we do have a very talented roster, especially offensively. We saw. Just like Emil mentioned, we saw a lot of blitzing. We saw a lot of improvement with our defense in what's his name?
Which player are you talking
defensive
Micah Parsons or defensive coordinator?
Dan Quinn.
Yeah,
Dan Quinn. Excuse me. Yeah, the name was slipping me. But yeah, like Emil mentioned, Dan Quinn showed a lot of improvement with our defense, and that's something that hopefully we can build upon, and we continue to improve. Really excited about our defensive players, just like Micah Parsons, like you mentioned. I think he's going to add something special to our defense, and we saw it last year, and I hope he continues that. He seems like a very dedicated professional to his craft, and looks like he's going to continue to improve on that. My main concern is, what are we going to do offensively? I think the quarterback, Dak Prescott, he had a pretty good year, but we got to sort out that running game. A lot of times I thought it was a little stagnant, just relying solely on Zeke. We may want to look at the option to play both Zeke and our other running back,
Pollard.
I think if we put them both in the starting lineup, I think that'll give us another option, especially since we lost Amari Cooper. Having both of those running backs.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to interrupt because I keep hearing the same broken record every year with the Cowboys fan, and I think this is gonna be like a scapegoat type of thing again to just point the finger at Mike McCarthy and say it's your fault. But didn't you say, Yams, the other day that they're in low key rebuild mode?
Yeah. They're like secretly in rebuild mode, but people still hype them up for Super Bowl, and they're like not even close.
Which is interesting. I mean, I know that you hate. I don't know if you say that you hate the Cowboys, but it's kind of a situation because that offensive line, they're kind of like rebuilding it again. I mean, their left tackle Tyron Smith, he is always injured. He doesn't play the whole season. Connor Williams, the left guard, went to Miami. The center, I don't even know who the center is, honestly. And then the right guard is the only star in that offensive line with Zach Martin, and who knows how many years he has left. And then they're just going to continue with their second year of offensive lineman steal to replace Collins on the right guard.
But that's the
right
only
tackle.
big issue that they have is the offensive line.
You think that's a big issue? I think they have a tremendous amount of issues.
When it comes to players, yeah.
Well, I mean, Amari Cooper left, and the number one wide receiver is CeeDee Lamb, supposedly. But you know what the situation is with teams? You don't just name who's the number one wide receiver. They actually like come up, and you just know who the number one wide receiver is. Like, here's like, oh, well, you're going to be the number one wide receiver. Like, that's not how this works. The number one wide receiver shines. And CeeDee Lamb had a lot of drop balls last year. So we'll see how.
I think Michael Gallup can take that spot with no issue if he steps up this year.
Well, remember, he was injured for most of the year last year. So we don't know how good he's going to be back.
He has great talent, though.
For Cowboys fans, I don't know how they can be excited because they haven't done too much of anything to get it more excited than last year. I think they were better equipped last year than this year, honestly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I agree with that. I think they were way more equipped last year. Obviously, we were kind of figuring out the offense as we progressed through the season. We started out real hot, and then we kind of went a little stagnant.
Always.
And yeah, I mean it's the recurring theme like that.
It's because also the problem is that they're in the NFC East. So if you look at the record last year, they didn't beat good teams. I mean, in the beginning, they barely beat the Los Angeles. I'm gonna keep saying San Diego Chargers, the Los Angeles Chargers,
right? And
it was barely, and there was a call there that should have been called. What was it? I don't even remember. But the Chargers should have gotten another shot to actually score a touchdown, and maybe they could have even won the game.
You can argue with that for any game.
Yeah, exactly.
Flags don't matter.
And the Chargers didn't even make the playoffs. Let me bring that up. And they barely squeezed over that. And remember the Patriots game? They barely beat the Patriots with a rookie quarterback. I know Bill Belichick is like the best coach ever, but in this sense, I mean, they struggled so much in that game, so it's not exciting at all. They really need to do some big time changes. And I know culturally it's always going to be pointing at Jerry Jones and the Cowboys can't remove the owner, so it's just the broken record over and over and over again.
Well, there's a couple of things that, in our offensive line, you got a guy like Tyrone Smith, he's aging, I don't think he's played a full season in I don't know how long, right? Yeah. I mean, it's been a while since he's played a full season, and he's such an important piece to that offensive line. And the loss of Amari Cooper, I mean, it's a loss. It's a big loss, and Gallup tore his ACL. You never know how players are going to be able to recover from such a big injury like that. Couple of things to be excited for. I think Dalton Schultz is really blossoming into a really good tight end. He looked great offensively.
Wasn't he injured last year?
No, he played.
He played.
Yeah, he
played
the
whole season.
The bulk of the season, as far as I remember. Do you remember out if he played the whole season?
So was it Jarwin the one that got injured?
Yeah, it was
Blake Jarwin's the one that got injured,
Blake Jarwin.
and I think
he was supposed to be
no longer on the team.
Right. Then let me bring something else up, like Mike McCarthy. When the Cowboys hired him, I mean, of course he was going to be the safe bet because he did win a Super Bowl.
Right.
But if you go back in his years as a Green Bay, he had Brett Favre, which a lot of people put him as like a royalty quarterback. I have some thoughts about that, but that's for another time. And with Aaron Rodgers, that I believe that he's one of the top quarterbacks in NFL history, and he only went to the Super Bowl once with him, and that's it. And that's not only like Mike McCarthy, that's the organization and the Green Bay organization, but with Green Bay, I mean, he didn't do much in Green Bay, in my honest opinion. I mean, Aaron Rodgers was possibly the one carrying that team to go to the Super Bowl. It's like the situation with Tom Brady going to the Bucks, and Bruce Arians was the coach then. And I mean, do we give that many props to the coach? Because I mean, Tom Brady is the one that won the Super Bowl, so I give more props to Aaron Rodgers there. So even Mike McCarthy, in my opinion, is not even an exciting coach that he should actually be gone. So like Sergio was saying, that Sean Payton, I mean, maybe they have like a secret agenda that this is the year that they're gonna just play out the whole season, maybe not do so well, and just fire him and get Sean Payton. He still lives in Dallas, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's interesting how everything played out with Sean Payton, right? I mean, you heard stories about him almost joining the Miami Dolphins, and he has a good relationship with Jerry Jones, and Dallas is home for him. So maybe at the end of the season, it's definitely gonna be a top priority for Jerry, and he's just gonna have to give him a blank check. I mean, that's a top quality coach that you just cannot ignore being on the sideline or being in the stands. I mean, you have to, if you're going to try to win with this core of players, especially, Dak Prescott, you paid, top dollar for all these players, you're going to expect results. You have to expect results. And it's been too long for Cowboys and Cowboys fans without making a deep playoff run.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you think that maybe Jerry Jones maybe doesn't want Sean Payton? Maybe he's holding out for Dan Quinn, because Dallas, he didn't take any interviews to
stay in Dallas,
or to leave, because he was kind of like a hot coach to be as a next head coach, Dan Quinn. So he kind of declined those interviews. So do you think maybe they kind of had a secret meeting and he's probably in the works, or
Well, maybe the Joneses have like a backup plan, and maybe
that's the plan is to have Dan Quinn as head coach.
Backup. I would think Sean Payton is actually the first one that they're looking at. Just like enticing, maybe a meeting here, a dinner here or there, and then if that doesn't work out, then maybe Dan Quinn. And I'll tell you something, Kellen Moore, I'm not that excited about that guy either.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree with that. Kellen Moore, I mean, he showed some flashes of some brilliance there. He was a top quality candidate, right, for some head coaching jobs. But
when was he that?
What was it, about mid-season?
Yeah, it was middle of the season.
They were talking about, but once the offseason started, nothing.
It kind of fizzled away. And part of that, I think, is because he got too predictable, right? I mean, he was running the same plays over and over again, and it just got really predictable. How many times did we throw on first down?
Yeah, constantly. I think he was playing.
Did we ever throw on first down? I'm sorry. Did we ever throw on first down that you can remember off the top of your head?
No.
I mean, never, right? I mean, you have to use the element of surprise, right? It's like first down, run. First down, run. It's like,
sounds like the Jets to me.
Okay. Let's focus on the Cowboys. I'm just kidding. It does. Yeah, it sounds like isn't that what most games are? They run on the first one.
No, the problem with Kellen Moore is that everybody got off surprised that he was using the Boise State
playbook.
Playbook.
Yeah.
And then after they caught on with that, like it went downhill for him. And that was the situation. And I give him a lot of well, he was one of the people that really affected that playoff game against the 49ers.
Absolutely, I agree. Absolutely.
There was nothing special about it. It was predictable. It was unorganized. Pollard, and I keep saying that Pollard needs to be used more, but and that goes into the head coach too. Like if he's watching the game, like tell your offensive coordinator, change it up.
Make some tough decisions. I mean, if something's not working right, then you got to make a leadership decision and say, hey, get into the coach's microphone. We need to change this right now. We need to adjust to the game flow, right?
Unless he's just getting a paycheck and he's happy with that.
Well, it's fun being anything Cowboys related. You're a movie star, like I tell you. It's just ridiculous that the owners need to be more demanding also from their coaching staff in a way. I mean, they need to stop this like nonsense of not bringing results. I mean, Cowboys fans pay a lot of money to see the games on jerseys, on any apparel. I mean, the Cowboys fan is so invested in that team, and the Cowboys historically are a winning organization, and it's just been terrible
since the 90s.
It's just been terrible.
We were talking about that they're the number one valued team in the whole world, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe it.
This is a football team that's only played in America. They're the number one valued team according to Forbes.
Yeah.
So that's crazy. But I want to hear from the Steelers fan. What does the Steelers fan have to say?
Oh no.
She hates them.
She say, oh no. About what, like the Cowboys, like where they stand?
No, if McCarthy doesn't have a playoff run, and by that is winning a few games in the playoffs, at least get to the NFC Championship, in my opinion.
Do you think that's enough though?
I mean, the NFC is not competitive. They do have a shot to get there. There's not that many good teams besides the Bucs and the Rams, honestly.
You have a couple of teams that are reloaded on talent, right? You got the Rams, you got the Bucs. It seems like everybody's excited about the season again. The Bucs season last year was a little interesting, right? Because you had a little bit of a hangover, I think, right, from the Super Bowl.
But you can't count out Tom Brady,
you can't count out Tom Brady. He's the GOAT, and I'm sure he's ready to play. And you look at him on YouTube everywhere, and he looks fire. He looks ready to play. Like it's his third or fifth season.
But besides the Bucs and the Rams, who else?
Besides those teams, Green Bay lost a lot of talent. Lot of talent,
right.
Everywhere on all offensively, defensively.
It sounds like the same threat as last year, the Bucs and the Rams.
No, and Green Bay's always there.
And Green Bay will still be there.
And
it sounds like the same threat. It sounds like nothing changed. And as a matter of fact, what has changed is your team. Your team. I'm Sergio, the casual Cowboy fan. Your team has it's gotten worse.
Yeah, I think
this year they were primed to win anything. If anything, it was last year.
I wasn't really too happy with the draft. I thought there was a lot of players on the board that we could have taken that could instantly have improved our team. But there's a couple of guys that they re-signed, like Curse. I mean, I think he's a pretty good safety. The draft picks that they picked.
The 49ers is another team that's like been winning, but they're gonna have some issues with this Trey Lance dilemma that they put themselves into, and Jimmy Garoppolo.
Oh, yeah,
so
for sure.
Super interesting that.
So
that's very
like I said, if you compare the AFC with the NFC, it's just very little. There's way less competition in the NFC.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, Apes. And how I'm telling you, do you think he's going to be in the hot seat or like be fired in this year if he doesn't go to the NFC Championship?
Oh yeah, for sure. I feel like Mike McCarthy, if he doesn't at least try to attempt to, they always end up going to the playoffs, but they never are able to advance after like that first game in the playoffs. I read somewhere where like I guess Jerry Jones was like against Peyton coming in, even though they are good friends. He did state like, he doesn't belong here. Like he believes in Mike McCarthy. He thinks like, this is an opportunity for him to like get them like a championship. But of course, as we always hear every year, I mean, people always want to see Cowboys succeed, and then the opposite wants to see them like fail. But it's just always the same thing every year.
Right. Right, and part of that is the culture that I think that Dallas needs to change, and I just feel like an authoritarian figure
That
like
can't
Sean
happen.
Payton that can be respected, has a lot of grit and is well respected by players. I think he's the right choice for
That
the
can't
team.
happen because
Well-
the one that's well respected there is Jerry Jones.
Well, yeah. To Ape's point, will Jerry Jones allow Sean Payton to be the head coach? Because that's the situation, and that's what a lot of criticism comes to it. That Jerry Jones just wants a yes man all the time.
Yeah, think
That's why
about the
Jason
Jimmy
Garrett's
Johnson
there.
situation, dude. Like, ever since Jimmy Johnson left, it's just been downhill.
Well, Bill Parcells was the closest thing to Jimmy Johnson, in my opinion, in that authoritarian type of coach, and he quit because he couldn't handle it anymore. The Jerry Jones dilemma. He didn't want Terrell Owens. I mean, we know that did work a lot, and probably Jerry Jones was like, you see, this is why I call the shots, because look how great Terrell Owens worked here in the Cowboys, even though that was only for like 2-3 years, I believe.
that
And then
Super Bowl was
then
great,
Jerry
wasn't
Jones
it?
fired him. Yeah, no Super Bowl. But yeah, I mean,
It's
it's
annoying.
the Jones
It
family,
goes
so
back to
I
the
don't
Jones
know.
Family. It does, 100%. It's dumb.
But again, you guys are gonna be stuck with these ownership like forever. So I don't even know when Steven takes the reins and makes all the shots. Supposedly he is taking the reins, but I think like the Jerry Jones like can't help it and just chimes in and makes some decisions, and it is what it is.
Right. And Bill Parcells, yeah, good coach with acumen, won a Super Bowl and wasn't able to get it done. And it comes from the top. I mean, at some point, the Dallas fan, I mean, even the papers in Dallas need to be a little bit more firmer with Jerry. He's got to let somebody who's more.
Does he own the papers?
That's a good question. He might, might invite him to his, ranch, for the weekend.
They have like
just
an
to-
annual,
just
yeah.
to print good stories.
An
But
annual yacht trip when his what is it? He has a huge yacht, I think,
Mhm.
that costs like $100 million or something.
I
So
know, it's all money, and I think problem is that the ratings are good for the Cowboys
every year,
and that's all that matters.
Yep.
At times, I mean, it's just about the money, right? I mean, the money the Cowboys bring in.
So do you guys believe that he says that he would sign a huge check for them to win a Super Bowl? Do you think that's true or not?
I mean, yeah, of course, but you got to let people do their job, I think, and you need to bring in people that are football people, not business people, because the Cowboys are more about business than winning football games.
So that's where I go
That's a
by
great
that he
point.
says that he was willing to put in a big check, pay a big check for them to win a Super Bowl, but it's like a contradiction there, that he's willing to pay a big check because he really wants that Super Bowl, but then there's the money involved, the business side. So which one is it? Is he more into the winning a Super Bowl or into the money side? Because then if we compare like respectable organizations like the Patriots and the Steelers that are always there winning, they're like on the sideline, and you don't hear too much from those teams. It's like it's shut quiet.
I think the owner of the Patriots lets people do their job in that organization. I don't think he gets too much involved in it. And especially Bill Belichick. I mean, Bill Belichick is football first rather than business, right? We've always seen that, and he's gone against the owner a couple of times, right? In decisions, right? I mean, I'm pretty sure the owner of the Patriots didn't want to let Tom Brady go anywhere else, right? He wanted to keep him there as long as he could. But that just goes to show you, I mean, what winning costs. Winning costs tough decisions.
So you agree that Jerry Jones prefers the business than winning a Super Bowl then?
Well, I think he means well in the decisions that he makes, but he's ultimately hurting the organization and not letting football people do their job.
But so I would like a straight answer for you, Mr. Sergio. Do you think that Jerry Jones prefers the business than winning a Super Bowl?
Well,
Yeah.
probably, yeah. I mean, it's a tough question, but yeah, I mean, it Jerry's very invested in the team, but it's more of a business. I mean, you see it, Frisco, Texas. It's like Disneyland, right?
Oh, for sure. How about you, Aaron? Do you think Jerry Jones is more in the business side, cares more about the numbers and the revenue coming in than winning a Super Bowl?
He's been like that, and I think he still is, but he's starting to shift to the, I'm getting really old and we haven't won, so we need to change that. I think he's barely.
What has
shifting
he
into-
changed though?
No,
what
no,
has
no.
he
Like
changed?
his mindset is starting to change into the like, okay, maybe we need to start to actually like win and go to the Super Bowl rather than to like.
Well, we had you and I have had these conversations before,
Yeah.
and we think like, yeah, this year, like it feels like he's making some changes because he needs to win because the clock is ticking. He's not getting any younger. And no, it's the same thing over and over each year.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, he got really upset after that playoff game, and this is what like boggles my mind, that he got really upset after that playoff game because he organized such a great team. I mean, it showed like it was pure talent on paper, but I mean, they weren't winning that good game. So that's what I'm trying to say, that I feel like they're blinded sometimes, that they feel like they're really great and they have a great team, but they don't, and they don't have a good coach. And then he was like super upset because they didn't win that playoff game. I'm like, well, look at yourself in the mirror, guy. This is your product. This is what it goes down all the way to you for the last, 27 years? It's going to be 30 years.
I think it has a lot of combination. Like, yes, it's business. Obviously, I think, he is probably he's a creative marketing genius, Jerry Jones, as he created this, Cowboys, America's team that's so huge now. But it also has a combination with the Jones. They don't release control, just kind of what you just mentioned earlier about, Belichick and against Robert Kraft. Belichick is able to win more battles against the owner, and I don't think here with the Cowboys they got another scared head coach, just like Jason Garrett. He's scared of Jones, and so is Mike. So if they are able to make any changes, they need to get a coach and let them actually do their job and step away, and they'll see changes. See changes happen.
I'm going to leave my last thought for this question. That organization ruined Tony Romo's career.
Well,
yeah.
It's interesting because, Tony had such a good upside, and if you look at his stats, he had great stats, at times. I mean, we saw him buckle under the pressure a little bit. But, you can definitely, it's fair to say that, we did not take advantage of his career in a positive way. He did see several head coaches, it was Bill Parcells, it was Wade Phillips, it was Jason Garrett. And every time it was a change. But, Tony definitely gave a lot for the Cowboys. And
Do you think Tony was better than Dak?
Yes.
Well,
yes.
In some aspects,
In some
of course,
aspects,
reading the game, I think he was a smarter quarterback. I think decision making.
But if you have to choose between either or, yeah.
Well, I mean, we haven't really seen the life of Prescott. I mean, right?
He's been 6 years with the Cowboys.
There's been some games that Prescott have won that I don't think Tony could have won. You have that game against Pittsburgh, in Pittsburgh. That was a great game. I mean,
in his rookie year?
Yeah, I mean, that was amazing. I mean, we've seen some flashes of some amazing clutch football work.
I think that was Dak Prescott's best year.
His rookie year?
His rookie year.
Well,
And that's it.
Rookies always have a better year their first year.
Especially when
That's
they're giving
not
with
true.
Yes,
such a
it's
great
true.
team like with that. With what the Cowboys have.
And yeah,
All right. Burrow.
Josh Allen.
There you go. That's another one. Should we keep going?
well, okay.
well, look, like, we need to bring up the stats. I can't just say, oh, okay,
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that Tony Romo is the best quarterback ever or anything.
If he was given an offensive line, he would have done great. That's all I'm gonna say. He was never given an offensive line, and whenever he did, he was already too broken. So that's all that matters.
Well, I think the last year that Tony played well, he had a pretty good offensive line, right? I think that playoff run against the Packers, he had a pretty good offensive line that year, right?
Didn't he go down?
No, he did play with DeMarco Murray, but the thing is that late in his career, which that game was late in his career, they started to listen to him that he was asking for an offensive line, and that's when they started building. It's the same situation that happened with the Indianapolis Colts. Yeah, they broke Peyton Manning,
Andrew Luck,
and they're like, all right, Peyton, peace out. And then Andrew Luck came in, and he got broken too. Because the offensive line, and then they're like, you know what? I think we should invest in the offensive line.
And now they have a great offensive line with no quarterback. Now they barely got Matt Ryan. So
it was great. It's dwindling down, but yeah, I agree with you that they had an amazing offensive line there when Andrew Luck was just broken, and that's the frustration with these like teams. Like that's the hardcore. Like if we as fans know that's like the bread and butter. If you want to have a good offense, to have a really good offensive, to have a good offense, you have to have a good offensive line. But
one point that I want to make, I think when Jimmy Johnson was the head coach, I think Jerry would let Jimmy Johnson be Jimmy Johnson. I don't think at that time in history he would be so involved in the footballing decisions of the team. And I think that's what made the Cowboys great, because Jimmy was allowed to go in there and work and do his best to improve the team. And we haven't seen that since then. I mean, we had Barry Switzer. He won a Super Bowl. And after that, we had Chan Gailey, Dave Campo, Bill Parcells, Wade Phillips, Jason Garrett, and now Mike McCarthy. And we don't know what goes on behind closed doors, but the results haven't shown. And now you see Jerry much more invested in the team than when Jimmy Johnson was the coach.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Well,
but going on Mike McCarthy, I mean, yeah, if he doesn't show results this season, he's definitely on the hot seat. And in our division, the NFC East, everybody got better. Everybody improved their team.
The Giants improved.
I think the Giants improved. They hired a good coach.
Draft. They got a good draft, and then the coach seems.
I mean, everybody improved, and I'm not sure that we improved. If anything,
the Cowboys got worse.
Yeah.
If anything, we either stayed where we were or we got worse.
Right, a little bit worse. Yeah,
that's a scary thought, because now you have Washington. You have the New York Giants and the Philadelphia Eagles all making moves, right, to improve their team, and I'm not sure we have that. And Mike McCarthy, he's unfortunately going to be the scapegoat, and he's going to be blamed. But I mean, if that's the job that you take, to listen to the owner, the next head coach has to really make a strong stance, I think, with the ownership and say, look, I'm going to coach this team, whether it's Sean Payton or somebody else or Dan Quinn, and really put his foot down and say, look, you're going to let me coach the team, and you're not going to get involved.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. NFC East.
That's a wish
NFC East is definitely a complicated division, I would say, for sure. And we're going to see where that goes from there with the Dallas Cowboys. We might see them decline. Who knows? But it's going to be an interesting season for them. But we'll move on over.
They need a wish. They need a little genie, a little wish, a little lamp, because
definitely, I definitely feel like it's definitely that kind of scenario for sure. But yeah, we'll move on from a different difficult division and move on over. We're gonna talk about the AFC North. We're gonna rank them. Last season, the Bengals, they went all the way to the Super Bowl. I thought that was amazing. Great things happened that season for them. The Steelers got a wild card spot. I thought that was interesting as well. The Ravens actually technically finished last. They were pretty much tied with the Browns with an 8-9 record. So that's a very complicated division, you could say. And No, we expected the Ravens. I guess some people can say the Ravens could have done a lot better. Some were saying they were going to be the top in the AFC North. Others were saying, Lamar Jackson's a fluke, so on, whatever, he's overrated. And I would say the Steelers were a little bit of a surprise, with Ben Roethlisberger. That was his last season. He retired. Good for him. He had a great career. But now they're going to be facing a lot of questions with his quarterback. They just drafted Kenny Pickett and stuff. But I guess we'll just say, what are the rankings? Who's going to the playoffs? What do you think, Yams? We'll start with you again.
Oh, okay. So, I have my ranking. I have Baltimore being number 1. They were pretty bad last year. Well, not that they were bad. They just had every player in the hospital last year. So even Lamar Jackson was injured at some point. So everyone and their mothers got hurt in that team. But I think that this year they will be pretty good, only because I think that team had one of the best draft class. I really like they picked that Hamilton at safety. I have the Bengals and Browns. I don't know. I have them either 2 or 3. I think they can be a given one, or they can switch. But for now, I'll put the Bengals. They did do a shocking appearance in the Super Bowl, which I think it was a fluke. I don't think they should have been there. They did pick up Jamar Chase, which actually changed their team a lot. They didn't get Penny Sewell, who I think they need to rebuild that offensive line. So I think Burrow said, just give me the wide receiver. It's okay if I can just go 9 sacks in the Super Bowl team. The secondary also needs some help last year. They got Daxon Hill, but they also have a really tough schedule with, facing not only their own division, who's a pretty tough division. They have Chiefs, Bucks, and Bills. Then I have Browns coming in 3. Let's just ignore the big elephant in the room for a bit, just because we don't want to talk about, but they have one of the 2 best running backs in the league. They have Myles Garrett, so as long as he's not, throwing helmets, I think he's a pretty good player. The secondary is legit. Their secondary, they're a little rusty, I think. I can't remember.
But you got a player like Denzel Ward. He's outstanding. One of the best corners
on
in
the
the
Browns?
game. Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
true.
He's
That's
a
true.
great football player.
That's true. I did hear rumors that Deshaun Watson is throwing interceptions, but maybe because he's just rusty or, distracted with, being suspended for a
Or
year.
if he needs to get another massage. I don't know.
So I want to jump into the Deshaun Watson thing, but let's try to save that for last, because I think that's probably the most important topic in that division. But with the Bengals, what I saw in the offseason is they just improved their team. I think they addressed all their issues. They signed a couple of offensive linemen. They waived a couple of the bad ones.
Right.
They improved their team. They drafted pretty solid. I think they got a grade A on their draft. The quarterback, he looks like Tom Brady to me. I mean, he's got some flashes of
Macaulay Culkin?
real clutch.
Yeah, for sure.
Macaulay grew up to be a really good quarterback. Who knew? I mean, but
Not a good actor, though.
What are you
he's
talking
okay.
about? He did a
He's a good
great.
actor.
He did a good. As a child, he was a
When
great
he was
actor.
a kid.
Yeah. 100%.
But yeah, I think they made all the right moves, and that is credit to the front office and the coaches. I mean, I think they're doing an outstanding job on improving an organization that hasn't won in forever either, and they haven't been to a Super Bowl since this past one since what, the 80s? I think it was the last time.
Yeah, it was definitely not in this century.
Good for Bengals fans. They certainly deserve a good football team. They've been loyal to that team for so many years, and the offense is just amazing, right? You have good players, Jamar Chase, like you mentioned, Yams, the running back. Mixon. I think they have really good depth, and in a long football year, I think you need depth to win.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, I'm very surprised with Zach Taylor, the head coach. He was actually in the hot seat after Burrow got injured, and they stuck with him, thankfully, and like that was super a good choice for the ownership or the GM to stick with Zach Taylor, because I mean, dang, they went to the Super Bowl, even though it was a weird way to get into the Super Bowl. It was strange, in my opinion. But I mean, I gotta give it to him. And the Super Bowl, even though some people say it was boring, I enjoyed it. It was a really good Super Bowl for me.
Definitely. I think it was a really good game.
Oh, yeah.
And for the running back, Mixon,
They just needed help with the offensive line. That's what helped.
the thing that I do critique the running back though. I mean, a lot of people say that he's good, but honestly, he definitely this year he got help by the offense just being so explosive with Jamar Chase in that passing game that it does open it up a little bit for Mixon. But if you put any other running back that's just quite that's decent, I think he can do well for him. So my only advice for the Cincinnati Bengals is to not put your salary cap with Mixon if it does come time to pay, and just build off of that and just get another running back, because that's just my opinion. Don't pay the running backs. They should fix that on the players' bargaining agreement, to put a different disclosure for running backs. I think they just get the bad end of the stick. But yeah, I'm just surprised by you. I'm saying that the Ravens should be number 1, even though we just saw the Bengals go to the Super Bowl. What's up with that?
Because they had a good draft. And also last year, all their players were injured. They were all injured. The running backs went down one by one.
Are you telling me that they would go to the Super Bowl and Cincinnati wouldn't?
I said they would win the division. I didn't say Super Bowl. I say Ravens will win the Super Bowl, then Bengals, Browns, and then Pittsburgh will have them last.
But you said that they're really close with the Browns too. That's even other surprising. Like, I don't know what you're thinking there.
I don't know what's gonna happen with the Browns.
Well,
like if Deshaun Watson,
that's the biggest thing that you have to go by. Like, if you don't know what's going on with the Browns, we can all say that they're a mess. Why would you put them?
That's why I started with let's ignore with the big elephant in the room. Like, I don't want to focus on Deshaun Watson.
Well, that's the problem, though. This is the projections of who's gonna go and win the division. And
wait, because it could change if Deshaun Watson. Then I'll put them up. If he doesn't, then he go back down.
I mean, imagine if Tom Brady gets traded to the Browns. I mean, anything.
He will
can
never
happen.
allow that.
Well, I know. That's just what I'm saying, though. Anything can happen, but as of today, that's not. I mean, you can't put Cincinnati.
Well, as of
with
today,
the Browns.
Deshaun Watson has not been suspended, so I have them as a number 2.
Fine, I'll give you that point.
Really? Okay.
Well, what's interesting about Baltimore is that they don't have a real big wide receiver depth. They let go of Hollywood Brown. They traded him to the Arizona Cardinals.
Yep.
Obviously, the quarterback was upset about that.
Was he even good though?
Marquise
Brown.
He's alright.
He wasn't that great. I mean,
he was a good compliment
really
to Mark Andrews.
He was a good friend to Lamar Jackson. He got sad that his friend left. That's all.
All right.
Well, you got to look after your bud, right? So, but anyways, I mean, you have the Ravens. They did draft pretty well as well. They drafted Tyler Lindenbaum, which I thought he was a great prospect for center. Definitely the Cowboys could have used that player, I think, on their team.
I thought the Cowboys were going to get him.
He's versatile. I think he's going to help out the running game for Baltimore. I think Baltimore gets back their running back. They lost it for the year last season, right? Yeah, the player from is he Ohio State?
You mean J.K. Dobbins?
Dobbins, yeah. I mean, he tear his ACL in the preseason.
Yeah.
I mean, that's going to help the team a lot. Who knows? I mean, they have a good coach in Harbaugh. I think he's a good coach, but he hasn't won in a long time. And that is interesting to me because he hasn't really made a deep playoff run in a long time. And it could be that his philosophy is out of date.
It could be, but the thing is that he still has success. And, he's trying to do that Moneyball type of thing. And he got like a kid or somebody really good from like Yale or something to do these like statistics and stuff like that to go for it on 4th down. And it's like when you're, I don't know, it didn't work so well. Like, look what happened. But and for me, because completely baseball is not football at all, because these players, like when you were talking about like the quarterback, it affects so much the situation. And myself, I think that Lamar Jackson is a good quarterback, but I do think he's a little bit overhyped, a little bit overrated, in my opinion. They put him like he's like a superstar. And I don't think so.
I'm not sure. I agree with that. And I'm not sure I see that either. I think at times he's shown flashes of brilliance. Certainly a very elusive quarterback, but we've seen it for many, many years that the elusive quarterback doesn't always win the Super Bowl, right?
True.
It's the one that makes the right throws at the right time.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is he capable? Have you seen that from him?
And I mean,
he's a really good athletic quarterback, of course. But I mean, when's the last time you saw an athletic quarterback win a Super Bowl?
That's what I was saying.
Russell Wilson, probably.
Yeah, maybe. But I think in the case of Russell Wilson, it was more the defense than anything.
Yeah, you can make a debate about that.
And going to the defense, they have some really good players on defense now. The Baltimore Ravens added Miles Jack, or I'm sorry, no, excuse me, Miles Jack went to Pittsburgh. I got confused for a second, but they have a couple of good players on defense. Calais Campbell, Patrick Queen, Marcus Peters, Marlon Humphrey. I mean, you have some playmakers on that defense that can certainly stagnate any offense, and you're going to need a good defense in that division. I think that division is
for sure
pretty well stacked offensively,
Yeah.
But don't you guys think it's kind of like the Dak Prescott type of situation? I mean, I think Lamar Jackson could be a better than Dak Prescott because of his versatility and his agility and stuff like that. But, I mean, at the end, he needs help. He's not going to win you a Super Bowl by himself.
Yeah.
He needs some help. And like Sergio was saying, I mean, the wide receiver depth, like it's not looking that great. Same with Dak Prescott. So, I mean, I can even say that Dak Prescott has better wide receivers in my opinion right now.
Just looking at the depth chart here, I mean, you have a guy named Devin Duvernay. Have you ever heard of him?
No.
He's their number one wide receiver now at Baltimore, and then you got a guy named James Proch.
Mark
the
Andrews
second.
has a lot.
I've never heard of these guys.
Mark Andrews is the best.
He's gonna have to
like
carry
receiver. Yeah,
He's gonna have to carry.
Absolutely. And I mean, a tight end is nice, but when have we ever seen a tight end carry an entire team?
Kelsey. Well,
No,
I mean,
come on.
Kittle?
Kittle helps. Kittle does help a lot.
I
but
think
Kittle's got the
Jason Witten with the security blanket for Tony Romo, maybe.
No, but
I mean, they didn't go to the Super Bowl, right?
They always had a talented wide receiver on those Dallas teams as well.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
How about he was really good. What was his name? From Kansas City Chiefs.
Tony Gonzalez.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Tony Gonzalez. But they never went and won anything. But he was like the guy.
Yeah.
But
definitely.
It looks like they're just going to be a run-heavy team, with Lamar Jackson.
Oh,
so
yeah.
what? Are they going to just keep running RPOs all the time?
It
looks
seems
like
it seems like that's the way they're heading,
Rashad
right?
Bateman's all right. He's good. I think I had him on fantasy.
It's
Yeah,
gonna be a
like in
problem,
your bench
though.
probably.
It's gonna be a problem because they don't have a reliable wide receiver, so they're gonna have to decline this year and have to go pick up a wide receiver in the free agency or in the draft.
Even the Bengals are so rich with wide receiver right now. Even their second and third wide receiver could be a starter on or number one receiver on the Ravens. The third one on the Bengals. So there's a lot of depth there, and you got to throw the ball to win, right? You got to throw the ball, and somebody's got to catch it to win the games.
I mean, yeah, they do.
You can run so long, but eventually there's going to be a team that can stop the run effectively.
I mean, there's still Beckham is available, Julio Jones, which I would skip. Emmanuel Sanders still available. Jarvis, oh no, didn't Jarvis Landry get signed by Atlanta?
Yeah, he got signed by Saints.
The Saints. I'm sorry, the
Saints.
Saints. And then there's Cole Beasley. He's available. Will
Odell
Fuller,
Beckham
he's
can't
always
play
injured.
until like October, November though, so that's a problem.
Why he can't play?
because he's
ACL.
healing.
I
Yeah,
think the
he's
recovery
healing.
time
Who?
is
That's right.
very
Beckham.
lengthy.
Yeah, in the
Okay,
Super Bowl.
In the
That's
Super
right.
Bowl. That's
Oh
a
yeah,
problem.
he scored.
yeah,
Yeah,
he's
One-
definitely
after
not
he
a
scored, right?
practice
Mm-hmm.
Well, and per my understanding is that he wants to re-sign with LA, so I know LA's gonna pounce on that. Who knows where LA gets all this money from, right? But they're gonna try to re-sign him.
They're
for
secretly
sure.
the Fed for some
I mean,
reason,
it's
just
just
printing
crazy.
and
Printing
printing
money.
money.
LA is just LA. They didn't lose anything.
Hey, props to that GM.
Oh yeah.
Honestly,
Yeah.
look at that. He just gets these players every single year. I mean, they're trying to win a Super Bowl again, back to back.
Yeah, they're trying to run it back.
Yeah, they can't hold on to all of these players for so
No.
long. So they're like, we're just at it again. We have everything situated. We have the quarterback. We have the
Yeah.
defense. Let's just go again.
Win now.
Win
you
now.
You have the talent there. You take advantage, right? You got a young head coach. I saw an article with he might be leaving pretty soon, a young coach, which is interesting to me.
Sean McVay.
Sean McVay might be taking a small retirement. Maybe not now. Next year.
That was a
couple
rumor.
years
That was a rumor. That was a fake rumor.
He shut it
No,
down. No,
yeah.
didn't he shut it down?
I didn't even hear about
I feel old if that's true.
Yeah. I want to retire. How old is he? 39?
No, 29.
So going back to AFC North, there's a lot of good teams, and there's a team on there that is all about winning Super Bowls, right? Pittsburgh. So they're historically a team that is always trying to win a Super Bowl, but the past couple of years we really haven't seen that, right? I mean, they've kind of stagnated a little bit, and partly is because of the aging Ben Roethlisberger. I think he let their offense down a couple of times last year, but it's part of age, and you can't throw the ball as well as the young guys.
Well, not just that. He just didn't keep up with his weight and conditioning, like Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers.
But that's what also made him so
Drew Brees.
so durable too. He would have never.
Okay,
he,
yeah,
he,
you
he
can't
didn't
get
get
me
injured that much.
You can't get me down, sure, but can I be inaccurate with my passes? No.
Was he inaccurate? He was a pretty
Yeah, he
accurate
was.
quarterback.
Oh yeah,
No, he was so inaccurate last year. Yeah.
Some really bad missed throws, I think, in games that I saw, and I think
In the end of his
ball
career,
was
Yeah.
thrown-
throughout
No.
his career.
the last season
The
that
last
he was.
season.
in.
the last season for
I
sure.
mean, he needed to move on, and so
Yeah,
did the
for
team.
sure.
Yeah. But he also helped, drag the team into the playoffs too, only to get blown out.
I mean, there is some points that the head coach might be like a little bit. I don't know, that he doesn't get them to that point to win a Super Bowl, because he has won a Super Bowl, but it's been since when Green Bay beat them, right?
Right.
So
But the last time they beat the Cardinals in the Super Bowl, that was a long time ago.
that was a long time ago. Yeah.
That was a long time ago.
And
he's got a good backroom staff. I mean, they just added a very talented guy there, and the Dolphins head coach.
Brian Flores.
Brian Flores,
I really like him. Yeah.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
The only problem that I see with the Pittsburgh Steelers right now is that they went for Kenny Pickett, right?
And that's so weird. Didn't they have like a big splash signing with Mitch Tibbetts? Is his name Mitch?
Mitchell
That's not a big
Is it
splash,
Mitch?
though.
Well, I mean, if you had like intentions of skinning Pickett, why would you get Trubisky?
As a
because
backup.
Kenny Pickett was available, so I don't
It
mind
just fell
them.
to them and like,
Yeah, it just,
okay.
It's
I
just
mean,
good quarterback competition that they're gonna have.
but the thing is that Kenny Pickett only had one good season in college, in my opinion, in Pittsburgh. So in Pitt, if you want to say it. That
Yeah,
way.
I mean, Kenny Pickett. I mean, he threw for almost 5,000 yards in his senior season. I mean, that's
4,300 to be exact, 4,319. And he had 42 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. It's because he had a tremendous and it's like,
He has
wow.
small hands.
Wow. Right. What do you think about the Steelers, April? What do you think? What do you think? How do you feel? How do you feel about their chances this year?
I think they're coming in last.
What?
I disagree. I mean, I think they have a lot more choices now that they were able to have more younger quarterbacks. Even though they do have Trubisky, I think choosing Kenny Pickett was also like a very good choice. I mean, like stat wise, like he is like the leading passer with like 12,000 plus yards. Like even though it was like his last college years, and then of course he was also like, what was that? One of the finalists for the Heisman Trophy his last year. So I mean, I think they're even though Roethlisberger, of course, you know, at his age, I feel like they're trying to build up their team right now to try to like prepare for the future.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about Kenny Pickett's hands, April? What do you think about that? I think that's such an interesting little story because it was brought up so many times, you know, during the draft, before the draft, and to this day, you know, they make fun of his hands. What do you think about that?
Donald Trump would be like, no, he can't be the quarterback.
What do you think about that?
I don't know what to say. I mean,
you think his small hands are going to be able to affect him winning football games?
No, I mean, look, like
he's thrown it enough to show you that he can play with his small hands.
I mean, his girlfriend also makes fun of his small hands, but he's able to prove wrong. Let me look. He got drafted, so.
Well, what are the okay? Well, let's look it up. What's Kenny Pickett's hand size?
8.5.
Big enough to throw a football.
8.5.
That's all that matters.
Yeah.
Really, 8.5.
That's pretty big.
It's the third smallest.
Well, yeah, but for an
hand.
NFL player.
Oh,
yeah.
So you know, the thing about his hands is Pittsburgh has very bad weather, right?
Ooh,
and
well, he plays.
you have an open
plays in
stadium.
Pittsburgh,
He plays in Pitt.
Yeah.
He's gonna play in Pittsburgh.
Well, the ball is different though.
It's bigger.
I don't know if that makes
but
sense.
but it's
Bigger.
smaller. No, it's smaller in college. In the NFL.
No, yeah, and that. Wait, really?
In the college, it's fatter. In the college one, it's like fatter.
It's fatter.
But I don't know
ball.
like the dynamics of it. I can't
okay.
compare because I don't have it. But
You know, but I asked a couple of football people about this question, like, you know, if this is gonna really affect him, but it may affect him in the games where you have snow and rain. And Pittsburgh has pretty bad weather.
It's okay. They
But like
can
you
just
said,
run the ball.
I mean, he
It's
went
fine.
to college at Pittsburgh, so he's like used to the weather.
my problem is that
He'll
he
be
only
fine.
had one good year. He only had one good year at Pitt.
Well,
Yeah.
you know, do you remember Tony Romo's last good year at college? Exactly. I mean, you don't know.
But he had big hands, man. Look at his. Look at the commentator.
was
He don't
also
even see the
undrafted.
microphone.
He was also
Right.
undrafted.
This guy's first round. They. And I'm not saying they wasted it because we're gonna wait to see.
I think you see a young talent like that, and you see the improvement from his
Mhm.
first year at college
For sure.
to his last year, and you build upon that, right?
Yeah.
You continue to improve, and you bring in some smarter people to work with him. And I think I thought it was a really good pick for them. You know, I
Yeah.
think it's an instant improvement for their team. Of course, we don't even know if he's going to be the starter, if he's going to even play this year, right? Because you have Trubisky coming in. And, you know, interesting with Trubisky is that, hey, he had a pretty decent run, right? The first, couple of seasons with Chicago. They were okay. I think they made the playoffs.
I know he beat the Cowboys.
I know. I don't think he's such a bad quarterback, and he did pretty good too when he played some time in Buffalo too.
Oh yeah, he played. Yeah,
He
I guess
played,
he had
and-
some
and
fun. Maybe
no-
he just needs a better like coaching staff and
yeah,
a better organization.
Yeah, Chicago's
yeah.
a mess. They also have Mason Rudolph. Let's not forget about him.
No,
Oh, God.
come on.
I think
I don't know why he's still there.
I think every Pittsburgh fan wants to forget about Mason Rudolph, right, April?
Yeah.
But you know, with Kenny Pickett, if we had better quarterbacks in the draft, he wouldn't be at all the number one, the first round quarterback to be picked. He would have been like third rounder or something like that. And most scouts or like NFL analysts would have said like, no, this guy wouldn't be. But I mean, again, there's been a lot of quarterbacks that gone picked like in other rounds, or an undrafted, and they become like superstars. So we'll see. But the thing is that it's just a little scary to put in a lot of like, okay, this guy's gonna take us there without and they did waste a first round pick. And usually the first rounder is the one that starts right away. That's why you get a first round player, because he's gonna contribute to the team right away. He's like in the first year, and he's gonna stay there for at least 3 seasons, at least minimum. Yeah. But that's the thing. I don't know. I mean, could he have fallen to the second round if the Steelers wouldn't pick him up? I mean, that's a really possible.
Scenario.
It's interesting. I mean, there definitely was not a lot of quarterback depth, but there's been. I mean, do you remember when Tom Brady was drafted? I mean, there wasn't a lot of depth there, was there?
No, yeah, that was well. I mean, not really. They didn't turn out that great, but they were like picked like top 10, I believe. Wasn't it like Redman? Redman was one. Wasn't Chad Pennington another one?
I think so.
Right?
I think so.
So I mean.
Decent.
Miss Jets fan over here.
I became a fan at
later on.
Yeah,
I know later on, but I mean he was supposed to be the dude and for the Jets, and I think they went to the playoff like once, and then that's it. When Bill Parcells was the head coach.
So it looks like history repeats itself with the Jets.
Probably,
okay.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
So the good thing about the Pittsburgh is they re-signed Minkah Fitzpatrick. Minkah Fitzpatrick is a great safety. I mean, probably one of the top 3 in the NFL, you would say.
Arguably, maybe even top 2.
Yeah,
maybe he's the best one out there.
I mean, he's very talented. And then they signed a guy who I think was underappreciated in Jacksonville, which is Miles Jack, a guy that can play inside linebacker, outside linebacker, kind of guy you can play anywhere on the defensive side of the ball. A little bit like Micah Parsons. They have their own Micah Parsons there.
No, Micah Parsons, I would think it's more like TJ Watt. That guy's the monster there. That guy's the heart and soul of that defense
They have a good defense. They have a really good defense.
They have a good defense. Yeah. The only thing is the offense. I'll tell you something. The running back is a beast.
It's a monster.
He's a beast. Mm-hmm. And he does
everything.
I don't know how long he's going to be playing in the league, because they use them in every single down. I mean, if you're a fantasy player, like that guy would get you points all the time, every single game, because they use them first, second, and third round. But we'll see. What do you think, Aaron?
Well, I think it's a little bit complicated. I don't think it's that easy, but I mean, for what it was worth, for I guess just for the last season, it was all right. I mean, they did end up with the tie though, which was, I mean, you never, when it comes to tie, it's just never something you should boast about. But anyways, I mean, I think they definitely have a good direction, especially when it comes to the Steelers, I think the Steelers can definitely be either second or third when it comes to being an AFC North. Even if they, their quarterback situation is kind of tough. I don't think Mitchell Trubisky is a terrible quarterback at all. He was pretty decent in Chicago in some games, but overall, I don't think he's. I think he's like average. But with Kenny Pickett, the competition between both of them is, I think it's going to be throughout the whole season. We might. I wouldn't say it's exactly like this. It won't be the same situation with like the 49ers when they have, Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey
You're
Lance.
saying they're going to have a quarterback competition throughout the season or before the season?
No, before the season.
Okay.
I think it's going to be tough to figure out. They need to see who's going to be the starter, and I think they're going to stick with one guy throughout the whole season. I don't think they're going to have any kind of, it's tough because Mike Tomlin, he's been there for such a long time, and I don't really know his situation on if he's willing to stay for, I guess, I would like basically a rebuild. I think that situation. They're in rebuild mode, and they have to start thinking, okay, what is Mike Tomlin gonna think? Is he gonna want out of that team? Is he gonna want to go somewhere else? Is he gonna?
Who knows? I mean,
yeah.
You may want to look at Brian Flores, promoting him to head coach. I mean, that might be the internal, game plan, but definitely Mike Tomlin has is an interesting character. He's kind of surfed under the radar a little bit because he does have winning seasons. I think every season that he's had has been a winning season, right? I don't think he's ever been below 500,
he's a great coach.
He's never been below 500.
He's great.
Better than McCarthy for sure.
Yes, without a doubt.
Yeah, so he has shown really good history with Pittsburgh Steelers. At times, though, you kind of have to question his leadership ability because you have a lot of bad things going on in their locker room, right? You had the whole Antonio Brown situation,
Le'Veon Bell.
Yep.
So at times you got to question the leadership.
Juju Smith with
all of them. I mean,
even Mr. TikTok.
He's doing his TikToks in Kansas.
Even today, you had a guy named Chase Claypool. I mean, talking out of pocket, and I think he just needs to settle down a little bit.
What did he do?
Well, he said he's a top 3 receiver in the league.
That he wants his contract or something like that, or
right,
he wants to get paid.
But I mean, you got to earn it, right? I mean, you're not a top 3 wide receiver without proving it.
I think a lot of these wide receivers saw that Christian Kirk contract and they're like, "What the hell? If this guy can't get paid, how come I don't get paid that much?" I mean,
gosh, yeah.
I think teams like the Jaguars and other teams, when they're gonna give a big signing to these players, they have to go to the league and ask permission first before they tell them no, dude, that's stupid. You're gonna ruin the whole league if you do something like that. You need to put these teams that are just horrible every year, and you have to check with the NFL first before you do any signing
absolutely.
like
that. But I'll give you one guy that I think Pittsburgh fans should be really excited about is George Pickens. I think he's a guy that reminds me a lot about Tyreek Hill. Speedster guy, real fast, got a lot of speed, good hands. He got injured his last year of college, I think, and we didn't really get to see a lot of him. But they took him pretty early in the draft, and I believe that he's going to be one of their top receivers this coming season, and it's something that I think the Steelers fans should be excited about.
So going back to the question, I know that Yam's projections are horrible, but what are your projections?
Well,
why are they horrible? I'm sorry.
Hold
on.
I gave you a whole bunch of points why they're horrible.
You didn't get.
Let's get.
Yeah,
through,
I did.
Let's get through
You
it first.
put-
Let's get through it first, and then we can argue.
I said Browns only
Well,
because we don't know what they're doing. I have him 3 if Deshaun Watson doesn't play, 2 if he does.
All right, we'll keep with that.
We'll touch on that Deshaun Watson thing, but I have Cincinnati repeating as the AFC North champions.
Yeah.
I think I have them number 1. And closely right underneath him, I have Baltimore coming in second. And then, between Cleveland and Pittsburgh, I mean, they're fighting for third. But why does that even matter at that point, right? I don't think either one of them is going to go to the playoffs if you're at third. Because you have the AFC West so stacked. I think that's where you're going to see probably 3 teams come out.
Maybe all of them.
Maybe all of them.
Yeah.
Who knows?
That's crazy.
But I don't know if you want to jump into that Deshaun Watson thing yet. I mean, the Browns obviously are a team that has immense amount of talent, right? You have tight end, defense. I think they're really stacked. In all phases, every defense and offense. I think they're really, really talented. The thing is they have a really bad situation on their hands.
They have a really bad organization. That's the problem.
Yeah. Okay, but Sergio, if you were to rank them from who would go last to who would go first and who would make the playoffs, how would it go?
Well, you got to go Cincinnati number 1, Baltimore number 2.
Mm-hmm.
Pittsburgh probably is going to go number 3,
Mm-hmm.
and unfortunately, the Browns are going to be number 4 at the bottom of the division because you really don't know how players are going to react to the situation they're in, and we don't know if the quarterback is even going to play. And then number 2, you have the situation with the second quarterback now. It's like, what do you go? You go send him an apology letter? What do you do? Like, hey, you're still on the team. We still want you to play. Like, what do you do with that? You pretty much just burnt bridges everywhere to win games.
It's like that Happy Gilmore scene that he tells the coach, what is it, Mr. Apollo Creed? I don't know what was his name there. Chubbs, I think that was his name.
Chubbs.
You're smart. I'm dumb. You're good looking. I'm ugly.
I want you to coach me. I disagree with the casual Cowboy fan here. I think Pittsburgh are in rebuild mode. They're number 4.
You don't
Like
think
the
they'll
Brown
come in third?
No, the Browns are a set team. The Browns have a really good team. It's just the quarterback is a hot mess situation. Now, I don't know where to place
Look,
them.
it's because I agree with you, but the problem is the organization. That's what puts them there. It's like if you have a great product, but the people running it are idiots. So you're gonna just have horrible results. You're just gonna have really bad results.
I don't think there's so much more idiots though. They assembled a really good team.
Well,
The problem is the decision making is just like
I agree with you. They were forming a good team, but then they just like messed it up. They're like, how can we make this better? It's like, no, dude, you're doing the right things. Just stay there. Somebody needed to be there and being like stopping and
They tried to shoot for the moon and maybe they missed. Who knows?
For sure. Like, I don't know. Well, Miss April, you're the Steelers fan here. I would like to know your projections, and hopefully they're unbiased.
No, I'm really gonna be unbiased during this. So to be honest, as much as it's like our rivalry, I am gonna be putting Baltimore Ravens as, as the number 1 that I believe who would probably win the AFC North. But second, I feel like I'm between, which I am still being unbiased. I feel like it's like probably a tie between Pittsburgh Steelers or like the Cincinnati Bengals.
You're putting the ex-Super Bowl team that went to the Super Bowl tied with the Steelers?
I am. But keep in mind, I'm also putting Baltimore Ravens as like my number 1. So, I mean, I'm having hope for my team. But, of course, seeing how Baltimore Ravens were last year, I feel like, they have like more of a chance this year to possibly, succeed. And then, of course, like 3rd or 4th would be... No, not even 4th would be Cleveland Browns to me, of course. Even though, of course, like Yams had said, that they're a stacked team, but with the whole quarterback issue going on, I mean, even though you do have like a stacked team, your main priority has to be like your quarterback because they're the ones who's throwing you the ball.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to completely disagree with you, like putting them tied, the Pittsburgh Steelers with Cincinnati, because they went to the Super Bowl. But, I mean, I do understand you because you're a Steelers fan, and it really hurts. It really hurts to put them really low, your team. But, I mean, at this point, I mean, yeah, no. I mean, if I may give my projections, I'm going to start off with, the Super Bowl team is the Cincinnati Bengals. They're going to be the number 1, and number 2 is if I have to pick number 2, it's really, really hard. But I would go with the Baltimore Ravens. Just because of their head coach, they're a little bit more organized, and they have had some success with Jim Harbaugh, even though I think the quarterback is a little bit overrated. But I mean, is the head coach that helps that team go to the next level to be still pretty good. And also Lamar Jackson, he's a really good quarterback. So they're number 2. Number 3 is the Pittsburgh Steelers, and that's just because they have everything organized and ready to go. And then I have the Baltimore Browns last, because at the end of the day,
Baltimore
Browns
doesn't make sense.
You know what?
You can't do that. That is not the rules.
You know,
Against the rules.
I went really, really old school. Did you know they were the Baltimore Browns back in the day? Really old? Man,
Old soul.
I went crazy.
Yo,
I went too back.
wait,
I went to
can I
another
point out
dimension.
Can I point out something interesting though? In this past season, the Ravens had a losing streak of 6 games.
Wow,
6
that's
games,
interesting.
guys. 6 games.
Yeah. So at the end,
When was that?
This past season.
this
I think it was
Oh,
the
wow.
last couple of games of the season. They just kind of fizzled away. They started out hot, and I remember a couple of games like against the Detroit Lions where they were losing. I mean, they were losing, and they just out of nothing like made something happen, and they got really lucky with that field goal where it bounced off the upright.
Oh,
You
yeah,
remember
I
that?
remember
that was
that. I
super
remember
long.
that.
I mean, they had some really lucky wins in my opinion.
well, they have Tucker, right? So they have the best kicker there. so-
Exactly. I mean, he definitely won them some games, but you can't always ride on your kicker, right? You still gotta, have your quarterback win some games.
I know that's what I'm saying. That I feel like he's a little overrated, but I mean, I'm good with him putting him number 2, that team, and then number 3 is just because they're organized, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and then number 4 is just the Cleveland Browns because there's just a dysfunction. We don't even know who's their quarterback's going to be. Probably going to be Jacoby Brissett, probably.
Okay,
at this
but
point.
if let's say Deshaun Watson is going to play yeah, it's done. They're not going to suspend him. What do you have the Browns at?
if they don't suspend, then I would have him number 3 and put Pittsburgh Steelers number 4. Deshaun Watson is not Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers. He's really good at quarterback, but he hasn't played for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
So it's not like right away he's
gamble.
gonna be. It's a gamble still. I mean, yeah, he might go into the. He might make it competitive for sure, and maybe even win the whole division. Yeah, it can happen. I can see that too.
Do you have him number 3 with Deshaun Watson?
As of today,
Bengals
yes.
2, and then who's number 1?
Number 1 is Cincinnati because they went to the Super Bowl.
I need to make bets.
I think it's pretty obvious that we can.
When
all
we
agree
get
that
closer to the
Cincinnati-
season, we're gonna make those bets. You'll see.
Cincinnati is going to be number
Yeah.
1 overall. I think for a lot of people.
Yeah, I agree. I think they made all the right moves, like I mentioned earlier. Cincinnati added good
Lel
depth
Collins.
Yeah, Lil Collins.
You
and-
guys like that guy?
I think he's pretty good.
They
You know?
drafted.
Oh,
They
my-
drafted an offensive lineman.
They
too.
draft, yeah, for
I
sure.
think or maybe even 2. I don't remember. I think Cincinnati made all the right moves, and they, for the most part, they kept all of their team.
Yeah.
And they're all young, so there's a lot of upside to that team, and I think they're gonna stay there at number 1. But Deshaun Watson, if he plays, I don't think he's gonna play. You have, how many is it now? 24 civil lawsuits or 25? I mean, it's
26.
just ridiculous.
Well, next week I think it's gonna be 32.
Look,
I'm not sure yet.
No.
they're the NFL is all about looking good, right? With the fans, with the families, they're gonna come down hard on him.
Of course.
They're gonna come down hard on him, and it's gonna hurt Cleveland. One thing I want to point out though is that Jackson is a little disgruntled because he wants a new contract, and he wants Deshaun Watson money. And I don't know if they're going to be willing to give him that big contract. I mean, you give him a $230 million guaranteed money. I mean, come on. I don't know if they're going to want to do that.
If I can put the Browns less than spot number 4, I would. You're giving him a guy that's, I don't know what's gonna happen to him or for how long he's gonna be suspended for. But I'll tell you this: the union,
A year.
the players' union, are probably gonna fight back, saying, "Hey, you guys don't bring the hammer on your owners, and look what happens with that. And then you guys are just bringing the hammer on the players. That's kind of messed up." So they might even take it to court, and then kind of like that Ezekiel Elliott. I don't know if you remember that they appealed, and then they went to the first, second, third, fourth, fifth circuit, and then until Ezekiel Elliott gave up. I mean, Deshaun Watson can play this season and just keep appealing and get suspended for one game, then comes back for another one. It's a hot
Can that
mess.
happen? Can you
Yeah.
appeal and then come back?
Yeah, I saw it with Ezekiel Elliott. Yes, it can happen.
Yep.
It's a mess for sure. It's a mess
Yeah.
for sure. And, Watson, you don't know if he's even going to play or not. So the team has dysfunction. And when you have that type of dysfunction,
Distraction.
you can't win the division like that. You can't. You're going to have bad press everywhere. They're going to keep bugging Deshaun. He's not going to be focused on just playing. he's not. I mean, you got a lawsuit on your hands. His mind is 50% football, 50% lawsuits. I mean, you're not going to win the division like that.
And then you guys are saying that team is like stacked, right? So I do agree with the running back situation. Nick Chubb is a monster. Kareem Hunt is also a monster. Amari Cooper, he's like a ghost.
You're missing one guy there.
What?
Ernest Johnson, I think he's a really good running back as well.
Yeah.
Oh, the way
I
he
give
played
you that.
against the Cowboys too.
Yeah, for sure. No,
Disgusting.
good. But then you have Amari Cooper, and he's a ghost. He appears, and then he disappears.
Oh,
So
well, he's gonna show up for them.
we'll see.
Amari, God, I really feel bad about losing him. I disagree with you on that. I think he's an outstanding player. I think he's an outstanding route runner.
When he
I think
plays.
he's smart, and when you're a smart football player, I think you can win games.
When he plays, I agree with you 100%. But the problem with him is that he disappears, and you're like, you see him on the sidelines, and you're like wanting him to like play, like, come on, man, we need you. And then he just has this Jay Cutler face, like, I'm good, I'm fine here, staring at the sidelines, like, I'm good. So that's what's frustrating. That was what's frustrating. And I remember one of the, I mean, not sure if you guys remember the Jets and Dallas Cowboys game. I mean, the Jets had what do you mean, which one? When the Cowboys played the Jets and MetLife this last time?
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Everybody was like, for sure the Cowboys are going to win that one. I mean, the team is stacked, and look at the Jets. They're all struggling and everything. And look how that turned out. And then all of a sudden, like, just Amari Cooper just was on the sidelines because he had some cramps or something.
Some hamstring issues.
Hamstring issues.
That's what happens to the Cowboys, though.
No, ask that to T.O. T.O. would play with a broken leg. Like, those type of players are going to give it all 100%. Michael Irvin, those what's his name, Randy Moss, like those guys like are gonna play and give it all 100%, and that was my frustration with Amari Cooper. So yeah, it sucks because the Cowboys hasn't really like replaced them, but I mean I don't see him like. I mean he's really good when he plays, so we'll see what he does with the Browns.
What's your take on Njoku? What do you think about that player?
He's all right, but I mean. And supposedly the tight ends are supposed to be like the security blankets for the quarterbacks, and did he do that many touchdowns? Like, I don't remember.
No.
He didn't really. I mean, he's a good blocker, I'll give you that, but I mean, he's not that type of tight end to be good. I mean, he's good to have a tight end. If you need a tight end, he's a good tight end, but not an amazing tight end. And then you have Donovan Peoples-Jones. I think he's maybe could be the best wide receiver if Amari Cooper is on the field all the time, then Amari Cooper. But if not, then it's Donovan Peoples-Jones. And then David Bell, I don't know who that is, honestly.
No, he's kind of unfamiliar. I'm not familiar with him either.
Yeah, I don't know who he is.
But, on defense, you still have a guy like Myles Garrett.
Garrett
is like a game changer, of course.
For sure.
But you have... Oh, yeah, Denzel Ward. I mean, Grant Delpit, safety.
Yeah.
Real good player, too. So you have some nice talent there.
Oh,
but,
David Bell's a rookie.
But the coach, too, I mean, he's... Stefanski, I don't know, he's kind of a guy that, he came from Minnesota. Minnesota's always had good offense, I don't think so much credit would go to that guy. He was their offensive coordinator. I don't know if you remember, but he at times he'll show brilliance of offense, but sometimes you're just kind of questioning, like, what are the Browns doing here? Why are you not running the ball with so much depth there?
Exactly. For sure. I mean, if the Patriots ran the ball against the Buffalo Bills for a whole game, I've never seen something like that ever in my whole life, and win the game. Like, you knew that they were going to run the next play. They were going to run it. They're going to run it. They're going to run it, and they
ran it again, and they kept running it
they
again.
They kept scoring, and they scored.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the coach, I mean, you can't really, like, Stefanski, like, I don't know. Would you want to fire him? He's the only coach that's taking you to the playoffs since like 2002, probably. 01. It's been like 20 years.
It would not surprise me that Cleveland did something like that, though. I wouldn't put it past them to fire the head coach.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I agree with you.
As bad as it sounds, and it's like, well, I mean, what did Bill Parcells say? You're the chef, but you don't get the they don't let you pick the groceries, right? And that's the thing with Cleveland. I mean, he's not gonna have his prime rib there to cook with, right? With Deshaun Watson, and what's gonna happen with Baker Mayfield? That situation to me baffles me every day. I think, what's gonna happen here? Are they gonna trade him? Are they gonna release him?
I think they're trading him, or they're trying to.
They're trying to with the Panthers because the Panthers are like, I want to get rid of Sam Darnold.
That's
I'm done.
stupid. That's so stupid. That's so stupid.
Well, no,
that's like equal talent.
No, it's not equal talent. But look, he's not a good quarterback, Baker Mayfield. He's a phenomenal commercial guy. He's hilarious. He's hilarious. Yeah. But if he was that good, then the Browns wouldn't be looking for another quarterback, and and that's why nobody has also traded for him. If somebody said if a team was like, this guy can take us to the Super Bowl, they would have traded him like that. But they're all waiting for him to get cut so they can get him for cheap. And right now, the Browns told the Panthers, like, hey, we'll pay half his salary. Just take him.
What?
Yeah.
Let's get this guy off our books, right? Well, because you have a sticky situation there. I mean, you have a disgruntled player. I mean, I'm sure a lot of guys in that locker room like Baker Mayfield. Yeah, genuinely. Sure. I'm sure they like him, Sure. And you just want to move on from that at this point. But can they? Will they? We don't know.
Well, they have to at some point, and I think it's going to happen sometime, if not this month, in July, just before training camp, because there's no point. There's no point of having him there. It's a guy that just doesn't want to be there. He's probably not even going to show up, honestly. Maybe I don't because of his ego. He has so much ego.
Well, he didn't show up for
the mini camps.
The mini camp, which is not mandatory, but he still didn't show up already.
No, they're mandatory. These last ones were mandatory.
I think he was excused from what I read.
Yeah, they excused him.
Which means like, hey, just go home, basically. Hey,
we don't want you around here.
Hey, I know you're pissed off. Like we don't need you coming to talk to our players and talk shit about everybody, right?
We know you hate us.
Yeah. So, it was funny because I remember that game where he was injured and Stefanski kept him in the game. It's like it was a pointless game. Yeah. And he kept him in. Like, to me, it showed like, hey, I'm gonna show you guys that this isn't our guy. Like, to me, that's how I took it. Like, I'm gonna show you guys this isn't our guy. I'm gonna keep him in the game. I don't give a shit what situation we're in. We're gonna keep playing him, and we're gonna show you this isn't our guy.
You don't think it's a Vince Young type of issue, they just have like beef against each other?
It could be. But from what I saw, it's like he's definitely not Stefanski's guy.
Yeah,
he's definitely not. He.
Trade for Kirk Cousins.
Oh no.
Well, I think Kirk already signed a new deal, didn't he?
No, I don't think so. I think that was like a rumor.
No, what?
No, not this year.
He signed a new deal already.
He did it?
Yeah, I think he signed.
No, he signed one like a couple.
Kirk Cousins signed for 1 year.
2 years ago.
For 1 year?
Kirk Cousins signed for 1 year.
Yeah,
for 1
he
year.
signed one more year.
Yeah, for 1 year.
So that you can still trade for him.
Well,
I mean, you're
make $230 million under the salary cap now. I don't think you can even sign a kicker at this point, right? You got
it's a 1 year extension. Yeah.
But Stefanski might be out after this year. Who knows?
No.
For all this blow up that whole situation.
Yeah, that sucks.
But why point the finger at him and not the GM though?
Yeah.
Well,
that's the thing. Like, who's in charge in that organization? Because it seems like it's just all over the place.
It is definitely. But you have. I credit them for trying to win, trying to make a move that might drastically improve their team and trying to get this Deshaun Watson in. But it's a sticky situation with him. I mean, the NFL is going to want to look good. That's at the end of the day. They're going to want to impress their families. You can't mess around with domestic violence. It's not a joke.
For sure. When did he become the GM, Andrew Berry, for the Cleveland Browns? 2020.
Been there for 2 years.
For 2 years, but
I don't think he then is that much part of this growth of team, right? I don't think he drafted a lot of these guys.
Well, No, but I think he's the one that did that thing, the pulled the trigger for Deshaun Watson.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
like, with that executive decision right there, as I'm the Browns owner, I would be like, dude, if this doesn't work out, like, you're gone. Like, these are the type of decisions that you make, and you're, like, out by the end of the season. Like, and honestly.
This type of decision can have an impact for your team for years.
Yeah,
you know?
For sure.
And it sucks because you have, you know, now you can kind of one up the Pittsburgh Steelers in something, and you have that chance, and you don't stick with your fundamentals. You know, it's I mean, it's Deshaun Watson. We'll see if he's even the player that he was before. I mean, like you mentioned, he hasn't played in forever. It's a gamble, complete gamble, and you're gonna win a little bit, or you're gonna lose really bad.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's rumors that he is throwing a lot of interceptions. His rusty, like he's showing how rusty he is.
So it's practice.
It is.
Okay.
So.
Yeah.
But what do you think, Aaron? Did you give your projections yet?
No, I didn't. But I
you agree with me?
You know, actually, yes, because I think you put the Browns, if Deshaun Watson plays, you put the Browns second, though, right?
Right.
But I think it's kind of confusing because you also say that he's throwing a lot of interceptions in this.
Because he's rusty.
Like, yes, because he's rusty.
So you're just reporting a little bit of news.
I'm just reporting.
Okay. All right. Well, so it's complicated because you could say it's like a similar situation to what the NFC East has, but these teams are actually good and they've had better records, right? It's you could argue that it could be the toughest division besides, I mean, now I could say the AFC West is the toughest division, but in the previous years, it's kind of been that situation because they've been kind of close by, you know, like I said, this past season, the Ravens and Browns tied for 8-9, and then the Steelers 9-7, and then Bengals 10-7. So they've had pretty close records when it comes to playing within each other. I think the Bengals would obviously be number one because, you know, they went to the Super Bowl. I think they definitely have the potential to be number one easily because they've pretty much kept their teams intact, like we talked about, their team intact. I think for number two, I think that's the hardest one to, I guess, decide for because if Deshaun Watson plays, because I think he has a lot of natural talent, I think he's totally capable of bringing that team to a number two spot if he does play, but I don't think that's likely. I think he will get suspended for the season, or at least the majority of the season. So I would probably put the Baltimore Ravens at number two, even though they had that, you know, big lose streak of 6 games that past season that was, you know, definitely not good. And they were losing. Those were close games. A lot of them were close games. And a lot of those were also, you know, within the division. It was pretty tough for them. But even though they lost Hollywood Brown, there's just something about it that I think they're going to click this season. And then I would put probably the Browns third and Steelers fourth. And I don't think any of them are... I think it's possible for them to not be far off from each other, especially when it comes to the third and fourth place. I don't think there's generally a really bad team like a Detroit Lions or like a New York Giants. There's just a very good team because they either have a really good coach or just a really good overall roster.
Yeah. So why are you putting Steelers fourth and the Browns third, though? Are you just saying because if Deshaun Watson plays, or?
Yes, I think that Deshaun Watson is capable of, you know, actually taking his team better to what they would without him.
But if he doesn't play, then you would put him fourth and Steelers third.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, look, for me, Steelers are in rebuild mode.
Are they, though? Or are they just looking for a quarterback? I mean, yeah, maybe
they got a great defense, man, and they got
have a really
wide
good
receivers,
defense.
Good running back.
So I don't
really
think
in rebuild mode. You can argue they could be like the
quarterback.
Dallas Cowboys, where they were like they're just missing a couple little pieces, and that's basically it.
Are you comparing the Steelers to the Cowboys?
No,
really?
I'm just saying like it's a similar situation. I'm not saying it is exact.
There's no comparison.
I just think they're missing a few pieces for them to be actually competitive. Because they lost, Ben Roethlisberger, and
if the Steelers just get a good quarterback, they're in there.
Yeah, exactly. And Kenny Pickett is a gamble, and also Mitchell Trubisky is a gamble.
Yeah,
but they got a great defense, and the defense is going to be what's going to lead them to having a good season, and it's going to be tough. It's going to be really tough. I don't remember how their schedule difficulty is ranking. I know, I think they have a good chance.
Well, I think the Bengals have the most difficult one. I think that from what I can remember.
I'm gonna have to look it up.
But I mean, they all play the Bucks, they all play the Chiefs, and they all play the Bills. So if I were to say, from all the 4 teams we just talked about, I don't see Steelers winning against the Bucks. I don't see them winning against the Chiefs. I don't see Steelers winning against the Bills. I do see, if Deshaun Watson plays, them having a competitive chance to win against Bucks, Chiefs, or Bills, and so on and so forth with the Ravens and the Bengals. I give them more of a shot to win than the Steelers beating the Bucks, Chiefs, and Bills. That's why I have them last.
We got the Los Angeles Rams at number 1 with the toughest schedule, and Cincinnati's number 3, and then Pittsburgh Steelers are like all the way down to number 12. So
realistically, you guys know that Deshaun Watson's not going to play the whole season. He might play a few games.
Yes, it's a very good chance that he's going to get suspended this season.
Exactly, but whether he does play, which I for surely think, he probably isn't going to play this season, his mind is going to probably be like somewhere else. I mean, even though he's going to want his team and want to prove like, hey, like I'm Deshaun Watson, like I want to get my team there, I want to like prove myself, but always like it's always going to have that in the back of his mind of like what's been going on these past couple of months.
Yeah, it's a very good point.
Massage.
For sure.
Yeah. Definitely a bit of a hangover there with everything that he's been through the past 2 years.
Yes.
And we're probably, if he does
sure.
see the field, we're going to see it. I mean, he's going to be distracted. But Yams, who do you think is going to win? Jets at Pittsburgh. I mean, that's going to be a good game.
The Jets. Absolutely 100% the Jets.
Well,
like no question. Like no, don't even debate this with me.
should we put a bet on it?
Yeah, let's bet right
when
now.
does it happen? When does it happen? Do you guys know what
That's
week?
October 2nd. That's
okay.
That's
so it's
gonna
pretty.
be the 4th week.
They're a couple
of the
weeks
season.
in. Pretty.
So they should already have like because the first
the
like
teams
couple
are
weeks
established.
Yeah, they're still like
They're-
trying to figure things out, and it's not
Right.
like it doesn't show like who's gonna be the Super Bowl winning team. So in October they pretty have like a little idea of who they are.
God, but
Yeah.
the Steelers, they got right off the bat, they got to play the Bengals game 1. I mean, that's gonna be
Tough.
a heck of a game, and Cincinnati's probably gonna take that, and then right after that week, they got to play the New England Patriots, which Bill Belichick's gonna have that team ready to play in week 2.
Well,
for
if
sure.
they put in Kenny Pickett, I'm telling you that Belichick is gonna have a field day with that guy. He destroys
He
rookies.
destroys rookies.
Oh,
He
I'm sure.
destroys rookies.
I'm sure. And then you have the interesting week 3, Cleveland Browns, Pittsburgh and Cleveland. Will we see Deshaun Watson there at that game? Who knows, right?
Yeah, I mean, for that game, I would just give it to the Jets, just because we don't know what's up with the quarterback situation for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's it. But I'm being
Is that a home game for Pittsburgh?
Yeah, that's at Pittsburgh. Oh, excuse me.
That's at
That's
Pittsburgh.
at Cleveland. That's at Cleveland.
no
It's at Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh or the Jets. Remember?
Oh, the Jets game?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's at
Jets
Pittsburgh.
are at Pittsburgh that game.
So I would just give it to the Jets, just because
Maybe.
But-
They don't play good at. But yeah.
they should beat, if this is their second year, the Jets should beat the Steelers. They should. Like
they
on
should.
paper, yeah, they should.
They should.
But will they?
We don't
Who
know.
knows?
We
We
don't
don't
know.
know.
The quarterback,
the
Wilson,
coach
I don't
also
know.
has to take into effect as well, because Mike Tomlin is just an experienced coach, and I think he's capable of dealing with a young team like the Jets.
Pittsburgh definitely has a really tough schedule. I mean, they got to play the Bucks, like you mentioned, the Dolphins. They got to play the Eagles. I think the Eagles are going to be pretty good this year. The Saints, who knows, right? With the quarterback coming back,
Jameis Winston.
Jameis Winston. They still have a really good football team. You may see a losing season for Pittsburgh. You know,
We're gonna see
under 500
yeah,
is what I'm saying. I think
They could go 8-9 for sure. I could see that for sure.
Tomlin might be Tomlin's first under 500 season.
There could be a lot of surprises this year for teams of who's like is just gonna jump out and just start winning.
I mean, Trubisky might shut us all up and play amazing, right?
I mean, it could happen. Yeah,
it happened against the Cowboys.
You know, do we know enough about Trubisky based on his stint in Chicago? Do we know enough? I mean, that whole coaching staff was terrible. I think.
Yeah, I mean, they all got fired, right?
Got fired. I mean, I thought.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It could be. I mean, the thing is that's weird, and everybody thought it was weird, is that when Chicago drafted him, Trubisky like gave so like. He wasn't like that amazing in college. He had like so many interceptions.
But he had the brains, though. He had the brains.
Well, I mean,
He
I
had
don't
the
know.
brains?
I don't know. I don't know how Adonis getting this from. I mean, Aaron. Honestly, I don't know. Brains? What did he do good in school or what?
No, I just
He went to North Carolina.
no, yeah. I mean, he wasn't a great quarterback. In
That's
North
basketball country.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm just
Not
saying he had the
football country.
potential because he was smart. He was good at
Smart enough to not play basketball. Now just go
No.
to the football one, I
All right,
guess.
whatever. You guys keep on going.
Well,
Yeah, well, you know, Pittsburgh definitely has a lot of question marks there. And I think the surest thing that we can all agree is that the Cincinnati Bengals are most likely going to be the top team again.
That's pretty
Yeah.
easy. Yes.
yeah,
I have Ravens going top.
yeah. I don't know. You're nuts, but whatever.
And then Apes,
Ravens.
you said what was your number one?
Who's mine?
No, Apes.
I said my number one was the Baltimore Ravens.
Okay. So Baltimore Ravens for Apes and Yams, and then the rest of us are Bengals, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Do we have anyone going in the wild card spot?
God, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Because we have so much more talent and I think better teams in the AFC West. You know, the AFC West for me is going to take, you know, maybe all of those spots, at least 3. You know, you have Denver, you have Kansas City, you have Las Vegas, you have Los Angeles. Every one of those teams has a great quarterback. Probably the worst one is the one in Denver, but, you know, he's got Patrick Mahomes. You know, I think he'll be back. And it's interesting, you know, he's going to have to adjust to a new receiving core. And without his number one guy, right, the speedster, Tyreek Hill.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
He's going to have to adjust to that.
Juju Smith is the closest replacement to it, and that's not saying much.
We don't know if Juju Smith-Schuster is that good of a player, right? Because we saw him. He was pretty good a couple of seasons. And
Because
then he
Antonio
just kinda,
Brown was playing, so that's why he
Exactly.
opened up a lot for him.
Right,
Yeah.
right. But hey, talking about our guy Antonio Brown, is our guy Antonio Brown going to retire a Pittsburgh Steeler this year? I mean, he's been saying he wants to retire a Steeler.
I think he's waiting to play, and I mean, and in that podcast that he did with Ryan Clark, even I mean, for Cowboys fans, he said that I mean he would love to play for the Cowboys.
No, get him away from there.
If the Cowboys
Oh,
get him,
no.
I
Nowhere
mean,
near him, please.
I don't know if we can handle that type of a movie.
that's what Jerry Jones loves. No, handling these types of players.
Huh?
I
does,
think he's just
most
some kind
certainly.
of different player.
Most certainly, but I don't think you want to disrupt the
Locker
locker
room.
room in that team quite yet. I don't think we're suffering so much for a wide receiver right now, honestly. Enough to bring in that guy. But more than anything, I think he's just going to retire, and that's it. And hopefully the Steelers are nice enough to let him back in the building, right?
I mean, now that Ben is gone, maybe, because there's a little bit of drama between them.
I'll tell you what, I can't wait to hear the stories after both of them are like finally gone. You know, like what's gonna come out, the stories in that locker room
Yeah.
about those two. You know,
Well,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Okay,
But,
so
yeah.
All right, let's go around the table. We'll just say our rankings. Nothing more than that. We're gonna start with the M's. What's your 1 through 4? Nothing more. Just say the names and we'll go from there.
Okay, Ravens, Bengals, Browns, Pits.
All right, and then Apes. What's your ranking?
But wait. But if Deshaun Watson plays,
No, he said nothing else.
Okay.
Nothing else.
okay.
Nothing else. Let's assume.
Okay,
The general.
I would have
like,
to
just-
go
Mhm.
Baltimore Ravens, Cincinnati Bengals, Pittsburgh Steelers, and Cleveland Browns.
Okay, and then Sergio.
I got Cincinnati, and then I got Baltimore, and then I have Pittsburgh, and then I have Cleveland.
Okay, Andy.
Ditto. Same.
Yeah.
All right, yeah. I have Bengals, I have Ravens, and then I have Steelers and then Browns last. It's really close
So-
though for the last two.
So So the guys have it the same thing. That's what I'm hearing. No, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Question for you guys: What do you think Harbaugh, if he doesn't produce well, is he out in Baltimore? Is he out yet, or
I don't think
You
so.
don't think
No,
so?
I think he's
he
gonna
has so
be
much
in the hot
respect.
seat in
Yeah.
like the next 2 years if it doesn't work out.
And last year they had, I mean, everyone was injured. Like the two
True.
running backs just blew out.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
it was J.K. Dobbins and then Gus Edwards right after him. Like it was just right back to back.
Tough season for them, yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
tough
Injury,
season.
a lot of injuries.
Who's
Oh.
the Ravens offensive coordinator? Is it the same one?
Oh my gosh,
What's his name?
question.
Everybody's googling.
Greg Roman. Greg Roman.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
he's
Greg
a good.
Roman.
He's good. I thought
mean,
he had
he's-
like a potential like head coaching job at one point.
I think he did interview, but
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think he decided to stay,
Yeah.
or they didn't get him. I don't know.
Hmm.
He's been
I
coaching
mean-
for 25 years, so
Maybe that's a guy that wants to stick around until they promote him to head coach. You know.
could be.
For sure.
But yeah.
I think there's a lot of questions for that at AFC
Yeah.
North. But yeah, I think that's gonna do it for this episode. That was quite a lengthy one. I think that was our longest one by far. I got like around 146 minutes right now, or 1 hour.
146.
56 minutes, sorry. I'm looking at it right now. Excuse me. But yeah. Anyways, you can follow us on our socials. We have a TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube football. I guess in some of them would go _tailgaters. You can just Google or just YouTube football tailgaters, and you would pretty much find us there. And I appreciate very much Apes and Sergio coming out and providing some entertainment with us, some more conversation with us. Definitely, it was very entertaining. I think for me, just to hear different, opinions from the usual. That was awesome. Love that. But yeah, until next time, thank you guys so much for listening.
Thank you guys.
Bye.
Thank you.